Hey, welcome to my channel. In this video, I'm going to look at dual overdrive pedals and why you need one. So let's check it out. Hey guys, how's everyone doing? I'm Doctor McFarland, and if you want to be a more confident musician, then consider subscribing to my channel and be sure to click on the bell icon so you'll get notified every time I release new content. So let's go ahead and get into the video. So what I have right here is 3 overdrive pedals. And what's special about these overdrive pedals is there's actually 2 overdrive sounds in one box. Okay? So let's go over a few of the points on why that's important, and especially when you're building a pedal board, why you would want a dual overdrive pedal. So first of all is the power supply. Notice that each box is only getting one power supply. Now, if you had 2 overdrive pedals, you do the math, there would be 2 different power supplies for each pedal. And maybe you just don't have extra slots on your power supply to add additional pedals. So this is going to help you cut down on how many power supplies you're actually using for your overall board. So another great feature is you're actually using less cables. In the instance of the first 2 pedals here, I'm just using a cable from my guitar to the input of the first pedal, one cable going to the input of the next pedal, and then one cable going into the input of the last pedal. And the Jekyll and Hyde is slightly different in this regard because it does have separate ins and outs for each side. So if you're using a switcher like the Boss ES8 or the Gig Rig G2, you can actually put each side of the pedal in its own loop, and then you can switch in and out those sounds with different presets. So that's what's kind of cool about the Jekyll and Hyde. Not to say that disregards the other 2 pedals, but when you do have that pedal in the loop, you can really only have one sound on or off, or you can just stack them. And then the third thing is that you're actually saving space. So normally with any 2 pedals, if it has side jacks, that you're going to be taking up more space because the cable has to fit in between the 2 pedals because of the side jacks. And if you notice on these pedals right here, they're all top mounted jacks. So basically I can just push each pedal right up against the next one, and I can save a lot of space on my pedal board that way. We do have some different characteristics of each pedal, so let's go ahead and look through each one and see what kind of sounds we can get. So first of all, with the gray channel from Earthquaker devices, you either have a green channel or a red channel. And unfortunately, you can't stack these. You can only have them on one at a time. So you have an activate switch, which is going to essentially activate that sound. And then you can change the channel back and forth. So let's say you wanted to start off on the red channel. You just switch that over to red and then activate it when you want to kick that in. Or if you want to start off with the green channel, you can do that as well. So let's start off with the green, and I do have it in the in setting, which maybe is neutral. I'm not really sure. I haven't looked at the manual for this. But the other features are you can choose between a silicon and a germanium kind of sound, so that's really cool. But right now, let's just have it in the in setting. So here's my clean tone. I am using a Quilter Pro Block 200 into a 2x12 cab with vintage 30s and a greenback. So here's my clean tone. Alright, so I kind of have it on the edge of breakup, a little clean, a little dirty. So let's just go with that. So let's kick in the activate switch, and that's going to let us hear the green channel. Alright, so what you notice about this pedal is It does not have a tone control. You basically just have a gain and a volume, and that's it. So the big knobs are your gain, the little knobs are your volume. So we're going to try and find that neutral sound here. And let's start off with the lower gain setting here. Let's go to 9 o'clock. Let's just find where that neutral sound. Alright, very, very cool. Let's go ahead and crank the gain up on this about 3 o'clock. Oh yeah, that is awesome. Alright, let's go ahead and go to the silicon. Alright, so right away I hear like a very mean, grittier kind of overdrive sound. So and actually what it's doing is it's changing the style of clipping. And germanium is going to do the exact same thing. So if you ever heard of like a germanium fuzz or a silicon fuzz, that's basically the sound you're getting, is the characteristic of that silicon or germanium part. Okay, let's go ahead and go to the germanium now. I think that went down in volume just a little bit. You kind of really have to pay attention to whatever setting you have on your pedal. How is that affecting your overall tone and volume? So you always have to compensate for volume, gain level, different tone levels, and all that different stuff. So, so the silicon is a little bit louder than the germanium, so I'm going to go ahead and compensate by bringing up the volume there. Alright, very cool. Alright, let's switch over to the red channel now. Let's see what happens if you keep the gain at about 9 o'clock and turn the volume up. And this is on the FET setting, okay? Alright, let's go to neutral. And now let's go to LED. Alright, so I think what I just noticed was with the gain and the lower gain settings, I'm really not hearing a whole lot of difference between these different switch points here. Let's go ahead and crank the gain up and see if that changes anything. So that is the gray channel from Earthquaker Devices. Alright, let's move on to the GT500. And what we have is a boost overdrive side and then also a distortion side. And what I found out was special about the distortion is the mid knob here actually has a the same kind of sweep that a wall pedal would have. So you can really drastically change the way the mid-range affects the overall sound of the pedal. So, and we do have a switch right here in the middle that says distortion into boost, or you can do boost into distortion. So We're going to go ahead and start off with a boost into distortion, and then we can swap it around and see what that does. So here's the boost side. The drive about 9 o'clock, the bass and highs at 12 o'clock, and the volume. Let's just find out where the volume should be. You always want to find that neutral zone where the volume sits, where you're not, so when you kick on the pedal, you're not adding more volume or you're not decreasing in volume. You're always just staying right the same. That gives you at least a starting point to where if you want more volume, you can just go up from there. So that sounds really good. Let's go ahead and roll off a little bit of bass and bring the highs up just a little bit. Bring the drive all the way down. And let's bring the drive up to 12 o'clock. All the way up, and let's compensate by bringing the volume down. Alright, very cool. Let's check out the distortion side now. Let's bring the distortion knob about 9 o'clock. And let's find a good neutral setting for volume. Make sure the tone knobs are about 12 o'clock so we have a good starting point. Cool. Let's roll off some bass, bring up some highs, and let's keep the mids right there at the 12 o'clock setting. Alright, cool. Let's go ahead and bring the mids up and see what that does. Mids all the way counterclockwise. It kind of gets way too dark and muddy there. Let's just keep the mids about in the. Very cool. That's already a lot of gain. Way more gain than you probably need in a normal situation. If you're playing country or rock, that's perfect. Now you really just don't need a lot of gain when you're playing in a full band situation. Otherwise, like your chords are just going to start sounding muddy. Let me go ahead and crank the distortion up to 12 o'clock and see what that sounds like. more overdrive or distortion you have in your signal, the less bass you're going to want to have, because you're just going to get all flubby and it's not going to have very much clarity in your sound. So that point where you feel like it's too much, and then just dial it back a little bit. That's also just a great rule of thumb right there. Because any more gain on the pedal, you're really going to start getting into diminishing returns of you're really not benefiting anymore from more gain. So anyway, that's enough about the more gain thing. Now let's go ahead and kick these two pedals on at the same time, because you can, unlike the gray channel, the GT500 can get, you can stack the sounds on top of each other here. So we're going to go boost into distortion, okay? So here's my distortion sound. Let's crank the volume up a little bit here and add some highs. What is happening there is, just like pushing the front end of an amp, I'm just adding more volume to the front end of my distortion sound. Now I'm not raising the volume level, I'm just adding the amount of gain that I'm pushing into the distortion. So now that's what's great about this this switch here is, now let's put the boost after the distortion so we can actually get some kind of volume boost. And once again, I got the drive all the way down because we don't really need a lot of drive in this situation. So here's my distortion sound. So, once again, boost into distortion, but both of these sounds are still going to the front end of your amp. So, ideally, you would want any kind of boost pedal in the effects loop of your amp, and that's what's going to be great about the Jekyll and Hyde, because we do have separate ins and outs for either side. We can run the distortion, or really either one, but we can run the distortion into the front of the amp, and then we can take separate cables, run the overdrive side into the effects loop of the amp. Well, let's go ahead and check out the overdrive. So we have a tone knob, which is basically, we got, volume, tone, and drive, which is going to be your basic three knob kind of pedal, right? But what's cool about True Tone is they give you the option of adding more bass. There's a cool bass knob here. Then there's also a clean mix. Okay, so with a clean mix all the way clockwise, you're getting the full wet signal. You're getting full overdrive. Okay, and then as we start dialing that back more, the 12 o'clock, and then 11, 10, 9, 8, and 7 o'clock, counterclockwise. You're taking away all the overdrive and you're just leaving the clean signal. What was great about that is the volume still works in that point. So you can use the overdrive side as a clean boost, and that's how I'm going to use it on my board, because I already have another Tube Screamers kind of pedal hitting the front end of my pedal. Then I can use the overdrive in the effects loop to adjust the overall gain of my boost. So let's go ahead and turn the clean mix all the way clockwise, and let's keep the drive all the way down, and let's just find a good neutral setting for my volume. I do have the tone at 12 o'clock. So yeah, so that sounds pretty good. Let's crank the volume up even more. So at this point, you have to really use your ear and ask yourself, you know, when I kick the pedal on, is the tone getting darker? Is it getting brighter? You know, you kind of want to match the tone of your amp. So for me, I want to hear a little more top end, so I'm going to bring the tone up a little bit. So here's my clean. Alright, very cool. Alright, let's go ahead and bring the drive up to 9 o'clock and dial the volume back a little bit. Make sure we're matching that volume here. Alright, I love it. Alright, let's go ahead and do the clean mix at 12 o'clock. And let me turn the pedal on and just play a chord and roll that back so you can hear how the clean tone is kind of getting pushed into the signal. Alright, so I kind of heard the high end getting rolled off a little bit, and that may be due to the you know, the tone stack getting out of the signal there. So depending on that setting, you can roll your tone up more. Just so you keep that high end intact that you want to hear. And then all the way counterclockwise. So I'm messing with my drive knob here, and I'm not really adding any gain. Alright, so how my distortion get on there? Alright, so you can kind of tell that the tone in the drive knob is really not doing anything at this point because I have the clean mix fully counterclockwise, but the overall volume does affect the sound. So and that just lets you know with the volume all the way down, yes, I am only affecting volume and not tone and drive. So very cool. If you got a core sound going on and you just want a nice clean boost, alright, so that's what you would do with that. So let's go on to the distortion side. There is a bright switch and an AB voice. I want to say the A voice is more mid-rangey and the B voice is more scoop mids. So let's just turn some knobs and see what we got. I'm going to go ahead and roll the bass down to about 10 o'clock, 9 or 10 o'clock here. Let's keep the high gain knob about 9 o'clock as well. Treble knob, 12 o'clock, and let's just find where we should set the volume here. Alright, so the A setting, or the A voice, is the less mids, and then the B voice is more mids. So that's going to be very important once we start dialing in these other knobs here. So I'm going to bring the volume knob up. Alright, very cool. Let's go ahead and bring some treble up here a little bit, just for some more high end. Okay, let's go ahead and look at the bright switch. So with the on the B setting, so I can still use my treble knob to adjust the overall tonality of the high end there. With the bright switch on A, I get a lot more brightness. So I'm going to dial back that treble knob. So with the bright switch on the B setting, you still have a full range of tone shaping with the treble knob. But with the bright switch on A, the bright switch kind of takes over with more high end, where just the treble knob alone kind of leaves off. So you can really shape that high end to where you want it. And then let's go ahead and go to the voice switch with the same gain setting here. So already we have more mids, which is just going to help us poke out in the mix even more. So so therefore, if you want to kind of tweak those mids a little bit, we do have a mid-range knob here, so we can roll that back a little bit. And let's go ahead and bring in some gain here. Alright, let's go ahead and stack the overdrive side with as a clean boost. Hey guys, thanks for checking out my videos and my YouTube channel. If you want to see a lot more cool content, be sure to head over to drmcfarlandstudios.com.